and I are sliding into the studio. And so be careful out there. I'll be heading home here soonly. And I want to thank our next guest, good friend of mine, Mark Ludwig, for coming down, braving the elements. How is it out there, Mark? Is it still a little snowy or not?
It's coming down, but definitely nothing sticking, so not too bad. Just really cold out there when the wind blows.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? Missouri's beautiful in mid-January, isn't it? So, hey, Mark Ludwig joins me now. He is one of he's what I would call a great citizen activist. You know, he had an issue near and dear to his heart. In many ways personal, but in many ways an issue that affects a lot of Missourians, a lot of Americans. And he decided to get involved, and I give you a lot of credit for that, you know, because you got a day job and family and so on and so forth. But this is something, Mark, that affects you and your family very deeply. And so you started an organization, and it's called Americans for Equal Shared Parenting. You're the executive director and the founder. And Mark, just tell folks why did you create this organization?
Basically, I found myself in a situation when shortly after my son was born, his mother and I weren't together, and I realized I ended up basically getting what's known as a Siegenthaler type of a plan. Basically, every other weekend and Wednesdays is what Siegenthaler is in the state of
so
Missouri.
when you go through a custody situation, a custody dispute, Missouri, and I practiced in this area. I didn't do it voluntarily. Usually it was when friends and family members would beg me to help them through the domestic courts. And man, you need a good lawyer for that, don't you? You can't just do it alone.
That's right. Oh, definitely.
And so, Mark, you're right. There's a presumption, and they've tried to make it better over the years, but I think they said they tried to make it better, but that presumption that you described, where generally the mother, no matter who she was, good, bad, or not, got primary custody and most of the visitation rights, and generally the father got what you might say the shorter end of the stick.
Yeah, about 80% of the cases are like that across the country. And yes, we agree there are some deadbeat dads out there, but I tell you what, there's a lot of darn good dads. There's every night in America, 24.6 million kids will go to bed without their father in the house.
Yeah, Mark, and that's a good point because, you know, definitely on this station we talk a lot, especially on the common sense conservative side of the aisle, about the importance of individual responsibility. And we talk often about the breakdown of the family, and so it's funny, right? I bet you we could do a chart with two different lines and they would intersect. As the family has broken down, the welfare state has given rise, right? And you've got a lot of stats that absolutely prove statistically, raw, hard, black and white numbers of why two parents in a child's life, whether they're married or if they're divorced, they're still in that child's life, is so important.
Oh, absolutely. If you look at all the numbers across the board, whether it's teen incarceration rates, teenage suicide rates, high school dropout rates, behavioral problems, substance abuse problems, between 80 to 90% of every one of those are tied to a father not being in the home.
And there's a lot of ways the father's not in the home, right? That you could have a deadbeat dad, you could have a dad that dies, you could have someone that just leaves his family, but divorce also artificially can create that separation, right? Even for a dad that doesn't want to be removed from his child's upbringing.
Exactly. We have enough problems with the dads who are either deadbeat dads or fathers who've passed away. We don't need to be pushing other fathers out who are wanting to be involved fathers.
So you mentioned this is not only a Missouri problem, but it's a national problem. Have you gotten a national following through this? I think you've given me some interesting numbers on that.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I started on the new page I just started with Americans for Equal Shared Parenting. I just started about 7 months ago. I'll top 10,000 followers sometime in the next week or so.
Wow, that's remarkable.
Total nationwide, we estimate there's about 800,000 to 900,000 followers between about 800 different shared parenting pages. The largest is the Father's Rights Movement, although ironically it is starting to affect women now too. There are different counties where, for whatever reason, women are being stereotyped away. So,
because Mark, the point is, even though you are a male and a dad, the point is not to say dad should be treated better or mom should be treated better. The point is we want to start the discussion from a 50-50 presumption in the law, right?
Exactly. In my mind, it shouldn't be about a parent. It should be about a child. You know, when I was growing up, my first two heroes was my mom and dad. And every child should have that right. It's not about father's rights. It's not about mother's rights. It's about the kid getting the right to have both their parents in their lives.
And so the reason you're starting from this standpoint is because traditionally there has been a bit of a discriminatory angle in the law, and I can say this from personal experience, of the dad kind of having to prove more or do more with their lawyers or in the courts. And so you're just trying to say, I don't want to shift that unfairly towards dads or men. I want it to start off even. So you've got a piece of legislation, right, that you've been helping push through the Missouri legislature. Yeah,
there's a team, and I really can't take credit for it. We've got some great people in Missouri that are much better than me at writing bills. But
they didn't want to come down here at 7 o'clock on a Sunday night, and you did, so God bless you.
I do want to give them credit.
Sure, go ahead.
Jeremy Roberts, Linda Reutzel, Scott Smith, and Kenneth Goings, those are the guys that actually wrote the bill. And we've got two versions. The House version sponsored by Catherine Swan from Cape Girardeau.
Okay.
And the Senate version, 645, sponsored by Wayne Wallingford, also of Cape Girardeau.
You got two great sponsors there. So tell me in a nutshell, for the layman out there, or maybe for folks who are unfortunately dealing with the same situation that you and so many parents deal with. It's a sad statistic, right? But divorce affects half the population these days at some point in time. And so tell them what you're trying to do for them.
Yeah, what we call it is a 50-50 rebuttable presumption. And what that basically means is the presumption should be that when you walk into court, until you know any facts at all, a child should have equal rights to both parents. Now, the rebuttable means that that's when you start being able to sway the conversation based on, do the parents live too far away or there's some other extenuating circumstances. But until you know facts, right now, the presumption when they walk into a courtroom is the mother's probably going to get the majority of the time with the child. Right. And our attitude should be gender neutral. Until you know any facts at all, you start off on equal footing with both parents.
Right. So before you start plugging in pros and cons for one parent or another, you should start with a clean slate, with a blank sheet of paper. Then, and it should be, okay, we're going to start with dividing, everything down the middle, just like you try to do with the property, right? Yeah. And, we don't want to treat the children like property. We want them to have equal access to both of the parents. So then the idea is, okay, it's up to then the parents and the lawyers to prove that the presumption should not go one way or the other, right? Exactly. That's all it is. You're just asking for fairness here.
Exactly.
You had some success last year with this idea.
The year before last.
Okay, 2016?
2016. We passed HB 1550. I call it sort of a backdoor approach. It's called facts, findings, and conclusions. What that says is if a judge doesn't give 50-50, they have to give written facts, findings, and conclusions why they didn't. So it did swing the pendulum quite a bit over the last year and a half in the state, but we definitely have a lot farther to go. Now, we did last year have this bill. It did pass the House the Judicial Committee 9-2, but the clock ran out on us last year.
Sure, absolutely. We're speaking to Mark Ludwig, who is the executive director and founder of Americans for Equal Shared Parenting. Hey, Mark, I think let's go to a break, and then you can stick around for another segment.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
We'll bring you back.
Snow outside. I'll stay in here.
We'll stay right here all night. Yeah, we'll have a cookout, here inside. I want to talk a little bit more, Mark, about some of those. You sent me some dramatic statistics about the importance of having two parents in the home. It goes beyond the divorce situation into so many things we talk about in public policy. Mark Ludwig with Tim Jones here on The Tim Jones Show. It's FM News Talk 97.1. More straight ahead.
The Tim Jones Show.
I'm going to be honest. He broke me. He broke me.
On FM News Talk 97.1.
Some of us are alive. We're all going to die one day.
Very topical.
The national, international news.
Keeping you informed and up to date.
U.S. news, world news, everything. Still considered my local news.
St. Louis is home of Fox News.
Get my news quickly, and it's much easier to get it
on the radio. FM News Talk 97.1.
After a record-breaking year at Diamonds Direct, we just want to say thank you for your support, your confidence, your trust. It's never something we take for granted, and we pledge to work even harder in the new year to exceed your expectations. And for 2018 at Diamonds Direct, we're expanding our selection once again with an even larger inventory of hand-picked diamonds. These are precious 100% natural stones created literally billions of years ago deep in the center of the earth. Real, rare diamonds with lasting and proven value, offered at the guaranteed best best price in America. Plus, we've expanded our selection of one-of-a-kind designer jewelry, the latest fashion-forward pieces you won't find anywhere else. If you're getting engaged or celebrating a special anniversary this year, come let us share our passion for diamonds. Let us show you how to identify real value, and let us help you make the most of this remarkable moment in your life. Diamonds Direct, offering the unique blend of uncompromising luxury and unbeatable value. Come discover the remarkable combination for yourself at Olive and 270 at City Place.
Earnings vary based on your effort. Message and data rates may apply. Do you want to learn how to make money flipping houses right here in St. Louis? If so, we have an amazing opportunity for you. We're looking for a small group of motivated individuals to join our real estate investing team. You'll learn our simple 3-step system for flipping homes right here in the local area. This is Than Merrill, star of A&E's hit TV show Flip This House. My team and I are looking for a handful of people in the St. Louis area who want to learn how to make money flipping houses in your spare time using other people's money. St. Louis is a perfect market for my system, and next week I'm holding a free 2-hour educational workshop where you will learn how to make money flipping homes and how to build long-term wealth with income properties.
To get 2 free tickets to Than's workshop, text WORK to 82,000. Seating is extremely limited. Text in the next 10 minutes and you'll also receive a free copy of Than's Money for Deals guide. Text WORK to 82,000. That's WORK to 82,000.
The Monster Energy Supercross 2018 season is here. On race day, preparation turns into determination as the world's greatest dirt bike riders give it everything they've got.
It's all about going to battle, for you. You're the guy that lays it on the line.
Here comes a gate drop.
Tickets are on sale now. Monster Energy AMA Supercross and FIM World Championship coming to the Dome at America Center March 17th. Visit supercrosslive.com. Lock in your seats today.
Mark Cox here for Victory Men's Health. Guys, here are a few of the signs that you may have low testosterone. You have low energy, maybe erratic sleep patterns or abdominal weight gain. You can even have a decreased sex drive. At Victory Men's Health, they do testosterone replacement therapy, and it's all overseen by their staff urologist. It makes a big difference, and all it takes is a blood test. They're easy to find just off Greenmount Road. Go to victorymenshealth.com and be you again.
My name is Ruth Rusi. I'm a retired teacher. I'm 91 years old, and this is how I live united. I say retired, but not really. Once a week, I read books to children as part of United Way's education program. Reading to a child creates links between language and literacy. It creates a bond between grown-up and child. And believe it or not, it prepares them for a better academic future. Oh, we read about frogs and flies and pigs with wings, all sorts of juicy stuff. It's a joy to watch all those little faces. I figure I have the time and they have the need. And I've always believed that if we're not here to help each other, then what are we here for really? My name is Ruth Rusi. I help kids prepare to succeed in school. So I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
This hour of the Tim Jones Show is brought to you by Convergent Wealth Management, your lifelong financial advocate. ConvergentWM.com.
This is the Tim Jones Show. Call now, 314-969-9797 or 866-455-9797.
Yes, indeed it is.
Flying by.
Flying by. Hey, give us a ring if you want. 314-969-9797, right? Did I get it right that time?
Yes, sir. 866-455-9797.
You've got that one memorized, yeah.
I'll hang on to that for you.
314-969-9797. Phone lines are open. Thanks for joining us tonight. We only got a little bit of time left, but keep it right here. We're going to try to unpack as much as possible for you in this last few minutes. Mark Ludwig is still with me. He is the founder and executive director of Americans for Equal Shared Parenting. We've been talking about the importance of a two-parent home. Whether those parents are married, never been married, or divorced. It doesn't change just because the parents may be having issues with each other, doesn't change the child's view on wanting a mom and a dad, right, Mark?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's hard for people, right? Sometimes, I thought that was brilliant. You said that earlier. You said it's what the child's point of view on this is. And I don't know that there's a little child out there that doesn't want to be able to say, mommy and daddy.
Exactly.
And have them in their lives.
Yeah, and to get the experiences of both. I think of how many kids are growing up without the experience that I had of playing ball in the front yard with my dad growing up. Or, being able to do homework with both of their parents instead of just one of their parents.
So this is just an idea of fairness. So do you have the proposed legislation to, and basically what Mark was explaining in his first segment with us is it's actually a simple change in the law. And I used to practice domestic law, and it makes sense to me is, if all things are equal, between the parents, and you've got to, for lack of a better word, two, plain old Jim and Jane Doe, and they're getting divorced, and you want the court to look at them on an equal footing. We start with the presumption that they should have equal shared parenting. That's the name of the organization. That's what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now there's too much of an adversarial relationship. And not putting attorneys down since you are one, Tim, but the attorneys love that adversarial relationship because it racks up billable hours.
You know what I said, Mark? The only person that won in a domestic dispute was the lawyers. The only two people that ever won, it wasn't mom or dad or husband and wife, and it definitely wasn't the kids. The lawyers won because they're the only ones getting paid and making money.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the idea of divorce should be, in my mind, to get it done as quickly, as efficiently, and as properly as possible. Because the ones that drag out over years and years it just destroys everybody's attitude on everything.
Exactly. So. And right now it's a winner take all. And so it creates that adversarial relationship. If both parents knew going in, they have a high probability they're both going to get equal time. I think you would cut down the amount of fighting. First off, you'd reduce a lot of the billable hours, which means that money could go into a college fund instead of going to pay for the attorneys.
Mark, you got some incredible statistics here. And, a lot of this is the same kind of statistics I've seen in, that come out of, unfortunately, some of the most challenged parts of our state, being the city of St. Louis and the city of Kansas City and some of our other major urban areas. And, we often don't talk about why these are happening. Well, I think a lot of times it's because of family situation and the education system, which are uniquely tied, right? Because if you have both parents involved in a child's life, they have a better shot of getting a better education to begin with. So children without fathers in the home account for 85% of the youth in prison. That's staggering.
It really is, and that's why this is it crosses party lines. It's not a Republican or Democrat issue. I've got a lot of Democrats who I've opposed on about every possible issue except for this one in the past, and they're on my side on this side saying, hey, you're absolutely right. In our district, the dads are being pushed out of the home, and it's raising the the incarceration rates, the high school dropout rates. 85% of all kids with behavioral problems come from a one-parent household.
The same percentage. So fathers, children without fathers in the home, 85% are behavioral problems. 71% of the high school dropouts are kids without dads in the home. This seems like this should be a no-brainer. Are you getting a lot of pushback on this, or is it just the legislative process, which it's hard to pass any bill? It's difficult, tedious, that we've made it that way. It's making sausage, but it's the best system we've got. I mean, what kind of opposition are you running into?
There's only two opposition. One is the attorneys, and as we realize,
because they love to drag things out and make things more complicated.
It's the most lucrative part of the law is family law. And so they're obviously opposed to it. But privately, and now what's neat is we're getting a lot of attorneys that have gone through custody battles, and they're being willing to stand up against the bar now, saying, hey, this isn't right. These dads are being pushed out of the home.
Well, Mark, I think this is a noble pursuit you're engaged in. So as we wrap it up here, where can folks find out more information and follow you as you continue this journey?
Sure. We've got a Facebook page for Americans for Equal Shared Parenting and a website you can either go to americansforequalsharedparenting.com or just the abbreviation, afesp.com. But for sure, the Facebook page, if you could, Americans for Equal Shared Parenting. We're going to have a lot of excitement. We've got bills introduced in 35 different states this year.
Wow.
But all eyes are on Missouri. Missouri is expected to be the #1 state to get it passed.
So truly a nationwide issue, but Missouri leading the charge in a positive way on something, and that's a good thing. Mark, I'll definitely want to have you come back to report on things as you make progress this session.
I want to bring the group with me this time.
Please do. Well, thanks for coming in. You're welcome to sit tight here as we wrap up the show. I'm going to get to a couple more things, but really appreciate you coming in, Mark.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to go to Americans for Equal Shared Parenting.
Yeah,
Americans for Equal Shared Parenting on Facebook. Ken's look it up. We'll attach it to our stuff as well. Hey, folks, as we wrap up, I've got a couple more minutes here, but I wanted to wrap up some of the things we talked about. Back to Trish Regan earlier. So we've passed the tax cut bill. I'm going to be working on some tax cut measures as we proceed through the new year through First World Media Network and the Job Creators Network. We did the Tax Cuts Now bus tour. We're going to be converting that, give you a little sneak preview of tax cuts work, and that's going to be the new mantra. And they do work, and it's so funny, as Trish Regan points out, that Democrats suddenly have this newfound fear of debt. They had no fear of debt for 8 years as we doubled the debt from $9 trillion to $19 trillion.
No, over 20.
Yeah, we've more than doubled the debt, as Ken corrected me. And so Trish is like, I think there's maybe something else going on here.
Entrepreneurism. You want to stifle that work ethic by taxing people more and more and more to, cover your concerns about your sudden concerns and recent concerns about debt, unfortunately.
Yeah, she's like, you suddenly have all these new concerns about debt, and it's just the height of hypocrisy. DACA, the Dreamer thing, Trump's comments about countries that maybe aren't as great as ours. That's why people want to come here, right? Senator Rand Paul, you heard from him earlier. He goes back and says, this whole thing is going to be derailed, not because of President Trump, but because the media has to constantly fixate on things that are not the issue. They'd rather focus on how they don't like when Trump says this, or they don't like when he says that, or they don't like the way he said it, or they don't like the way he looked at them that day, or whatever. And it's really because of them that this entire debate is getting screwed up.
But what I'm saying is you can see why there are more people wanting to come from economically distressed areas and they can't all come. So it gets into the valid, legitimate debate over immigration as to how do we choose? Do we have a diversity lottery and take people from everywhere? Do we base it more on merit? So there are a lot of questions that this ultimately intersects with policy. And the only thing I regret from all of this, other than I think some people in the media have gone completely bonkers with, just ad hominem on the president, but what I regret is I do want to see an immigration compromise. Right. And you can't have an immigration compromise if everybody's out there calling the president a racist. They're actually destroying the setting, and he was a little bit of it, but both sides now are destroying the setting in which anything meaningful can happen on immigration.
It takes two to tango. And, if it wasn't this, it'd be something else. And, if we had somebody in there who is, I don't know, let's say a little more mild-mannered than Trump, the media has a field day with those people. It's like throwing fish food into the piranhas, They're not used to Trump because he's a counterpuncher. He never starts these things.
And you know why? You and I talked in the break why they're doing this. There's a common denominator here, and it has nothing to do with racism or Trump. What's the common denominator why they're doing all these accusations?
Voters, Ken Williams. Voters. He wins the turkey.
No, you win.
Yeah. Give him Butterball on the way out. They're all frozen. They're in the parking lot. That's exactly right. Let me tell you something. I hate to be this cynical, but if we could do if we had like a Dr. Evil mind reading machine, and let's say we put all the people that were going to immigrate into this country and we put them all in a room. Let's say we could do that, and we could read their minds with our Dr. Evil mind reading machine, right? And we knew how they were going to vote, and we could publicize that to everybody. And let's say, for sake of argument, hypothetically speaking, that every immigrant that was going to come into the United States in the year 2018 was going to vote Republican. Let's say we knew that. Ken Williams, I think the Democrats would quickly lose interest in DACA, immigration reform, and everything else related to that issue.
Real quick.
Because, folks, the opposite is true. They think that if we just get people here, the poor, tired, yearning mass, the poor masses, that they can just put them on the welfare state. I'm sorry, it's the new version of the plantation. I hate to say it. It's so they can do what? Buy votes. Buy and own. They want to own. The Democratic Party now wants to own voters. And I hate to put it that way, but that's exactly true.
And they're perfectly willing to spend the money for that.
And on the statute, and they always use the Statute of Liberty thing. Bring me your tired, huddled masses. Okay,
Yeah.
they stop right there. See, the Dems and the left and the liberals and the media, they say, "Oh, just give us all to him." You know what the next phrase is? Yearning to be free.
Right.
Not yearning to be on the welfare rolls. Not yearning to come here and not have a job. And that's exactly what Senator Rand Paul was saying. He's like, look, there are certain countries. Okay, Rand Paul was saying maybe we should use some different language. Maybe we shouldn't have said S-hole countries. We should say economically distressed countries versus those who, are more the merit-based system. They don't want to have that discussion, Ken. They'd rather just blow it all up, call everybody a name, say the Republicans are horrible, and all go home.
Right.
So I didn't get to Mark Levin. I'm going to have to wrap up, but the great one, Mark Levin, said he just blew the dossier thing wide open. And that's the other thing they don't want to talk about is this thing with the Steele dossier is getting closer and closer to home to look like the biggest political hit hack job in a millennium. Bigger than Watergate.
I think it's much bigger than
Much bigger than Watergate. But unfortunately, we don't have a media like we did in the old days that wants to cover things at least semi-fairly and objectively.
Sarah Carter.
Sarah Carter does. we love Sarah Carter. She's brilliant.
Yeah.
Hey, you're all brilliant because you listened to the Tim Jones Show tonight. We thank you for doing that. Thanks to our guest, Mark Ludwig. Thanks to the great Senator Bob Onder. Folks, everything is podcasted. You can go to